The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
Open your eyes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Open Your Eye here on the NOK Network. It is Thursday. We're in February 29th. Once every 4 years, some people have birthdays today. I saw a news article today of a woman that was celebrating her 25th birthday, which means she was 100.
Wow, isn't that something? Because she's born on a leap year. She's only technically 25
Yeah.
At 100 years old.
Cool stuff, though, right? I
Right?
mean, if you're born today, so if today was your born day, happy birthday. You only get to hear that once every 4 years, man. We'll make sure we say it.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday, leap babies.
Happy birthday, leap babies. We got some exciting news going on around here at NOK Network and at Kissed Acres, where, of course, we podcast all of NOK Network programming. Kissed Acres hosts every year a little event that we call the 710 Stoner Games. We're in our 4th year hosting this annual event, and it's family fun picnic games with a stoner twist. Basically, you race up in one aspect or another, whether it's a 3-legged race or a wheelbarrow race or various races such as those. You do a dab, and then you race back. Well, this year, the Stoner Games is expanding our protocol, and we are adding in a cannabis cup.
I am so stoked.
Yeah.
So stoked, Kim.
Grassroots folks out there. I mean, everybody be making their creams and lotions and potions and jellies and edibles and gummies and candies and growing some pretty kick-ass weed out there as well. You know, since legalization came here in Canada, everybody's a grower. So we have a little saying, you think yours is the best? Well, let's put it to the test and enter in the 710 Stoner Games Cup. So looking forward to hosting that this year.
Oh, I can't wait, Kim. I came up last year to see you way up north. And it was absolutely incredible. The Stoner Games, if you've never been, you're not going to want to miss it. I was like a little skeptical, like, okay, you know, like we'll have a good time, but I'm telling you, I didn't want to go home. I wanted to stay and play the game some more and smoke some more dabs and smoke some more weed and hang out with Kim and the crew because it was just such an epic weekend. Some of the bloopers were just like, there was never a dull moment, no matter whether you were participating in a game, watching a game, or participating in the physical games. We have some spectator games. So there were some interesting moments there too, right? The doobie rolling competition was interesting. We had some non-consumers, non-rollers rolling doobies. And let me tell you, some of the conversations that took place over that was something.
We make sure everybody's got something way to win a prize. We had non-participants, so our spectators, we had stuff in between games for our spectators, stuff like a shoe kick and the egg toss and joint rolling competitions and things that didn't require consumption for our non-consumers to participate in, as well as our immobile peoples that wanted to participate, low impact stuff. So we try to have a little bit of something for everybody at the Stoner Games, and one thing we have in abundance is a whole lot of fun.
Absolutely. We had an absolute blast. I can't wait to come up again this year. Like that's my big trip this year, because there's not a whole lot of big things happening as far as like in my world down in legacy cannabis lands. So this is going to be kind of my big camping weekend. I can't wait.
Yeah, we've been mulling this idea around for, about 3 years now, for starting this cup event and adding it in. Quite frankly, there were just too many of them already in existence. I was too busy with supporting all of the other legacy cups that have been around for many years, but they have all fallen away, and they are no more. They are not taking place this year. I felt somebody needed to fill that hole and give our legacy peeps out there a place to go, and it's something I've always wanted to do, so we launched it. And we are providing legacy peeps out there a place to go and to share their wares, and let's compete in a kick-ass cup. So you can enter at the Stoner Games Cannabis Cup. Website launches in 12 hours.
That's
it launches
so exciting.
Tomorrow morning. So you'll be able to find out all you need to know at the stonergamescup.ca. We'll be live tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Check it out.
Nice.
Tonight, we have a great guest. We have a return guest. Dave Hodges is in the house with us tonight. Last time he was here, you were away, Tarra. Hobbies was in and taken over for you while you were away. So Hobbies had the great pleasure of meeting Dave last time, and we've got him back for yet another conversation. Dave Hodges from the Church of Ambrosia is with us tonight. Help me welcome him. Dave, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. You got a lot going on, and you're a really interesting dude. It's the path that you took and where it's led you, where you are today with some of the stuff you've got going on today. I mean, we had a conversation backstage pre-show there. There's some big plates spinning. There's some platters going around up there, man. Why don't you tell our guests a little bit about Dave Hodges, how the hell you got started in all this, and then we'll get into what you're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. So currently I'm the head of the Church of Ambrosia and Zide Door, which is the physical location that we have here in Oakland. My background was it started with cannabis. I was in the medical cannabis industry for a long time, pushed for good regulations. Unfortunately, things fell apart here in California, but long history in fighting to protect medical cannabis. And after the California industry was kind of decimated by how legalization happened out here, I was kind of lost for a little while and ended up in 2019 opening a cannabis church. So the church originally was a cannabis church here in Oakland, which they had the lowest priority laws, and it seemed like the best place to do something like this. Little did I know that the mushrooms were going to come along, and 6 months after I opened the church, Oakland passed the lowest priority for all entheogenic plants. And I had been called the mushrooms for a really long time, but never tried them. So that was a sign to me that, entheogen means for religious or spiritual purposes, but it meant that it was something that I needed to start working with myself and bring into the church.
Right.
And that changed everything. The way that I talk about the spiritual use of cannabis, it's all about the inner eye. And the first way I actually ever heard this was by somebody who said they didn't like smoking cannabis. Like every time they smoked, it was like there was a giant inner eye turning in on them and telling them everything that was wrong with their life. Well, to me, that's the spiritual use of cannabis. It's learning how to harness that inner eye and use it to examine what you're going through and what's going on in your life to help you correct it. So generally, the people who were having a problem with cannabis for that reason, where the cannabis was trying to help them, and they were ignoring it because they weren't ready to hear it.
Right.
But the difference with the mushrooms is they can do that, but they can go so much further. The really high dose work that I ended up getting into, where it was, the most that I've done in volume wise was 30 grams in a single dose.
30
And
grams in
that's
one dose.
Yeah, 30 grams of dried mushrooms in a single dose.
I only
And
know one other person that's done that. How about you, Tara? You know who I'm talking about, Jack, right?
Yes, Jack. He can handle some serious dosage.
I've never heard of anybody else giving that kind of dosage.
No.
yeah, well,
Experience
there's two ways that can happen. One, if you have a tolerance, it's one thing, or if you've done a bunch of this work, it's a whole nother thing.
Right.
But really quickly, from trying mushrooms, I went from 2 grams to doing 30 grams in a single dose within the first like three or 4 months of ever trying mushrooms. But what it was this path where the mushrooms were teaching me how to use them and showing me what this breakthrough dose work is.
Right.
What I now define as a breakthrough dose, we have, we'll get into that later, but we have some stuff on our website to calculate things based on potency. But the breakthrough dose is where you start seeing things on the other side. So, what a lot of people are used to with mushrooms is things just kind of get a little wiggly and colors are enhanced and you feel better and that. As you go up and up, there gets to be a point where things like leaving your body and going to other dimensions or other spaces, even places in time and different realities all start to happen. And this is when I say going there, I mean like it's beyond watching it on TV or in a movie. It's you are physically there at the right dose. The stuff around you can touch, smell, feel, every sensation. You are really in these places.
Right.
Which can be terrifying if you don't know what you're doing and you haven't done a lot of this work, but it's a really ancient tool for us to examine the other side and really understand what happens after we die and things like what our soul is.
Yeah. I mean, I've been dabbling in psychedelics for 45 years, on and off. And I consider myself fairly experienced. I use microdosing on a regular basis. I've done macrodoses, of course, mostly for recreational purposes. But I've never done a breakthrough hero dose, whatever you want to like that. That to me is just like, holy shitballs.
Yeah. Well, the definition I have of the breakthrough dose is where you start actually seeing things. Again, it's at the really high levels, but the starting place is where you see the intense visuals. You might see some sort of creature in front of you, or a mountain talking to you, or things like that, which people can reach on mushrooms, and that's more common. But that's where I say the start of that work is, and then it just gets so much deeper from there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, dosing is so important in this work. I talked a little bit about recreational. I use the term because it's what somebody can relate to because of societal norms and the way we view these things. But to me, none of it is really recreational. At its core, it's not. I mean, I'm going out and I'm having fun with Tara. One night we go to a vapor bar and we're having an infused meal and they offer a psilocybin infusion if you'd like it. Well, of course we do. And we are going to We're going to go and use the ladies' room and find out the walls can breathe. And, you know,
It's happened.
Yeah, that can happen for sure.
you know,
Or you're
but
walking through the
there's-
event and the floor's moving under your feet.
Yeah.
right? You know, but I mean, there's medicinal value behind that, because the activity that is going on in the brain that is happening, it can take you days, weeks, even months sometimes afterwards to unpack what actually took place.
Well, you know, the way I look at it is every use is a spiritual use, because what psychedelics do in general, but specifically what the mushrooms are doing, is they're weakening the border between this world and the next. And the first thing on the other side is your soul. So if you're taking a microdose, it's like putting a little crack in that wall. If you're taking a normal dose, you're like poking a hole, and the larger the dose, the bigger the hole.
Right.
And then when it gets to this breakthrough work, it's like taking a sledgehammer and knocking down that wall.
Right.
But the very first thing on the other side is your soul. So where you feel the happiness and the connection and you're getting downloads and experiences, that's your soul coming through. And even if it's a crack in the wall, it's better than nothing. And then, you know, one of the things that science struggles with is a lot of the times they're looking at the microdosing and they're saying, well, it seems to have almost like a placebo level effect. Well, what is the placebo effect but your soul healing it yourself? I mean, you're getting better from a medication that shouldn't work because it's fake, but you're actually getting better. Well, that's your soul healing yourself. So with the microdosing, the same thing. If you're getting some sort of healing benefit, that's actually what's going on. And when you get into the medicine side of things, it's also, I look at it less as a medicine and more of a tool. The healing is coming from your soul. The tool is allowing you to access your soul. Like a medicine would be something like Tylenol that you take and your back stops hurting.
Right.
This is you poke a hole in a wall and you start feeling the presence of your soul and what you need from it. As long as you're true to it, you can get out of it.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing to me, even with the science backing it up, that there's still resistance out there to experimenting more, finding out more, utilizing more freely these entheogenic plants, mushrooms included. I mean, we have the data now. I mean, Tarra knows from doing the other show, Psychedelic Reporters, where we look at mainstream media news, and weekly there are articles out there about another study showing it, you know, dosing, growing pathways is something as nominal as microdosing daily, growing brain pathways, and this kind of thing. And then you hear about, you know, the doses of the larger doses and the breakthrough doses, where, you know, people that have been in treatment for 15 years for PTSD go on one mushroom trip and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm good for like 8 months with no meds. You know, that coupled with the fact that there are pathways growing. I mean, how can people be opposed to somebody utilizing or wanting to utilize or find out more information on utilizing these things as a way to alleviate the mental stressors that we have in today's world?
Yeah, I mean, it's hopefully you can hear me. I'm having a little problem with my headset.
Yeah, I noticed, and you switched, but yeah, we've got your mic. We got the new one is paired. You're good. But you know, it's amazing to me that there's still so much pushback against this. Do you get a lot of the, I guess, you know, people contacting you saying, well, what the hell, dude?
Well, I mean, Not really. I mean, there is some pushback, but the main pushback these days is very, very small. There are some horror stories around things that happen with psychedelics, and generally, really, every one of them, it has to do with education. You're either in the wrong setting, or around the wrong people, which is basically the same thing. I mean, if you're, in the environment that you need to be in to do these things safely is a safe environment with people around you who know what to expect and are good people. If you do psychedelics in a public place and you're around some people that might want to fuck with you, or even worse, you have an overdose where you've taken more than you intended to and are having a rough time, it can lead to some bad things. And probably the one that really hasn't been talked about as much, and something we're going to get into, but is the potency of the mushrooms now.
Yes. Strain is so important. I mean, not all mushrooms are created equal. That's for sure.
Even the individual grower, and even in the individual batch. So we've done a lot of testing, and mushrooms in the same tub, the same batch, the same grower, the same everything, literally the same tub of mushrooms can vary up to 100% in potency in the same tub. So one of them might have 4,000 micrograms of psilocybin. The other might have 8,000 micrograms of psilocybin. So, and everybody who does mushrooms has run into this at some point. They felt like, man, that was a strong mushroom. I thought it was pretty small, but that hit really hard.
Yeah.
That's part of what's going on. The other thing is, depending, just like cannabis or anything else, depending on what it has available to grow on, so the substrate, how that's done, the environment it's grown in, how it's dried and handled, all those affect potency too, even how it's stored. So when you're looking at the potency that we've seen tested through the church, we've actually seen a 40-to-1 ratio. So some mushrooms are 40 times stronger than others. And, just to really spell that out, if you think you're doing 3 grams of mushrooms and you're used to the weakest ones, and you do the strongest ones, that's like doing 120 grams of the ones that you're used to.
Yeah, and I've had that happen with doing, what I call mini macros, right? It's not quite a macro dose, it's not quite a micro dose, somewhere in the middle. And, well, that's what you're expecting to do. And then you take it, it's like, wait a minute, where are the fucking walls breathing on that much freaking? It's like, what's happening?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, that's just in cubensis that has come through the church. The highest stuff that we've seen, that the labs have ever seen, hits almost double that. So 80. So that same 3 grams would be a 240. I mean, it's so, when you get into mushrooms that are that strong, if you think you're doing a gram, you could be having a breakthrough dose. You're thinking, oh, this is just a gram of mushrooms, but really it's 40 to 80 times stronger than the stuff you're used to. Now, generally what we're seeing is, like, in the average mushrooms, we're seeing a 4 to 10 times difference in what most of the strains that people are used to. But in the extremes, it's really extreme. And, just like cannabis, where we talk about cannabis edibles with milligrams of THC, that's what needs to happen with psilocybin. We need to be talking about not how many mushrooms we're consuming. We need to be talking about how much actual psilocybin, the psilocybin content that we're consuming in the mushroom.
Testing.
Yeah.
The same
Yeah.
as in the world of cannabis, it comes down to testing. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's therein lies the rub, right? Because I mean, that's what pharma wants. That's what government wants. They want standardized dosing. They want to be able to say psilocybin, this many milligrams, THC, this many milligrams. And when you're talking about natural plants, there's no guarantee with that. You would have to literally like test every single mushroom. Well, nobody's gonna do that, right?
So
that's
you know,
why we
there's
get into, like, okay, we're gonna grind them up now, and we're gonna make a batch. All of them are this many milligrams.
so that's actually one of the things that we started doing through the church is we have ground tested mushrooms because we want people. We have the full mushroom too, but if you really want to understand these higher realms or make sure that you're going to the right place, understanding how much psilocybin you're consuming is really important. You know, I totally understand where you're coming from on the big pharma side, but they don't want mushrooms at all. They want pure psilocybin in a pill.
Right. They want the synthesized shit.
Yeah, that's. But you know, at the same time, there is the way the ancient tradition how you would solve this problem is you would have an experienced shaman consume some of the mushrooms himself or themselves before dosing anybody else.
Be able to tell everybody how much they need to take.
Exactly, based on his experience of how they felt and the size of the individual person / what he thinks the experience level is. They're going to go around and hand out the amount of mushrooms to each person. That's how traditionally it would be done. And I'm not a big fan of science in general. I think this stuff goes far beyond science and far beyond medicine. But I also want people to do this safely. You know, we through one of the projects we have as a part of the church called God Sitters, we've dosed people on a lot of really high doses. And the past couple of years, we've been learning a lot of valuable lessons about what psilocybin overdoses are. And, you know, a psilocybin overdose is something that I define as anytime you consume more than you intend to. So there's a lot of levels of the overdose, but that's the basic definition. And then there's two problematic overdoses when you get into the really high dose work. And the first one is you don't remember what you did. So if you just had a conversation with your soul, if you just sat down with some sort of godly entity and it told you what you need to do in life, and then you can't remember it, why'd you do it? So the people like myself who have done a lot of this high dose work, we can come out of a ceremony and be like, yeah, okay, I think I remember 70% of that, or I remember 100% of that, or I remember 5% of that.
Right.
And that's how, you know, we can know that, oh, we went a little too far based on where our practice level is.
5% you went too far, yeah.
5% you went way too far. And but so that's a problem for people who are trying to get work done, and it very important when you're talking about resolving trauma from the past, or, you know, using this to really understand who and what you are. If that's where you are in the work, you really need to remember that. I mean, that's why you're doing it. That's what the huge benefit of this work is.
Yeah, it's not about going out there and getting mindless.
Yeah. The much more problematic overdose, though, is the one where we say the mushrooms take over your body. And this happens with people who are not experienced at these levels and consume more than they're supposed to consume. So, and that's unfortunately, that includes a lack of memory of what they did. So there's no point in them doing it in the first place. But this is where you get people doing crazy things like stripping off their clothes and running down the street naked. That is a extreme mushroom overdose with with something else getting into your body, taking it over, and enjoying that it has a human body.
The spirit moved me. Yeah, the problem is what spirit.
And those can be really, they can be dangerous, because if you're running in the street naked, a car isn't going to feel so good. And if for somebody sitting for somebody doing that, if you're trying to stop somebody from running out the door naked, you got to be really careful how you do it. There's potential for bad reactions, even potential for violence, because they're not them right now. They're this thing that thinks it needs to rip off all its clothes and run out in the street naked, because that's the most important thing that it needs to do.
Yeah, it'd be difficult to stop that.
Yeah. So getting people past the getting people to be able to do this work without going too far, so that they can remember everything that they experienced, and they don't do anything that puts themselves or other people in any sort of physical danger. That's where the testing and the potency, and we need to understand this stuff, because again, if you think you're doing 3 grams of mushrooms and you do something that's 10 times more than that, because you don't understand the potency difference, and just to throw a joke at you, one of the mushrooms is extra strong in the 3 grams of mushrooms you got.
Always that one little asshole in every bundle, right?
Yeah. And again, if you're doing this stuff the right way and respecting it, those aren't as big of a problems. If you're in a safe place with good people around you, and not a place where you're gonna try to jump off a balcony or run out in the street naked, then
set and setting, exactly. And make sure you're limited on dose, right?
I've had an experience like that where, I've had a little too much. Kim and the crew and I were all at an infused dinner, and, we partook before dinner and then decided to have some more with dinner. And next thing you know, I can't be in that room with everybody. Like, the people I was with were great, but everyone else that was there, it was just like, I had to go. I was like, I gotta go. You okay? Yep, I'm good. I gotta go.
Really?
Not gonna do anything dumb? Nope. I just gotta go outside. Go outside for a bit, and then I come back in thinking, I can handle this now.
Like, we're all so high, and of course we're a group of girls. It was like, Tara's going, we're all going. We huddle, all of us, this whole group, the whole table, get up. Every time Tara left, a whole group of girls going, okay, we're going with Tara. Okay, and we're back. And we're going with Tara again.
Yeah. By the end of the night, it was quite funny, because they actually sent their head security guy to go out and make sure we all got in our Ubers. Okay.
That's good.
It was a good.
Yeah, they take good care of us there. They know us.
They took very good care of us. I must say, they took very good care of us. Thank you, Planet Paradise. Interesting conversation. We're going to talk a little bit more about set and setting. We are going to talk a lot more about the Church of Ambrosia. Poof! There's the logo, and this guy when he's got all his gear on. Yes, the Church of Ambrosia and more. Coming up when we come back, but first, it's medication time. We're going to take a quick break here about a few of the other shows here that we have here on the network, and then we'll be back with more of our conversation with Dave Hodges from the Church of Ambrosia. Stay tuned. We'll be back in about 4 minutes and 20 seconds.
NOK Network presents Ganja News Update. Join the joint hosts, Christine Tarra and Michelle Parata as they bring you their global cannabis news update. Catch the Ganja News Reporters weekly on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as they cover cannabis news from around the globe in this 60-minute video news podcast. Stay up to date with Ganja News Update, Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern on NOK Network. Follow and subscribe to NOK Network on our webpage, social media, or streaming sites including Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble.
What's Up Northern Ontario? A video podcast based in Northern Ontario, Canada with host Kim Cooper. Kim and her guests discuss life in the rural north in this all-inclusive show about everyday life within the communities around them. News, information, spotlight interviews, as well as live on-location coverage of what is taking place in the region. From triumphs to tragedies, What's Up Northern Ontario covers it all during this locally focused podcast. Catch What's Up Northern Ontario monthly on the Knock Network.
Winter Movie Nights on NOK Network. Tune in to NOK on alternate Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for our winter documentary series. Our 2023-2024 lineup will include informative documentaries on natural therapy, food, and agriculture. Joint hosts, along with guests, will join in studio for post-show discussions on air and engage with our virtual audience. Join us November through February for movie nights on the NOK Network. Follow and subscribe to the NOK Network on our webpage, social media, and streaming sites, including YouTube and Rumble.
Advertising space available at NOK. Contact us for a rate sheet at knocknetwork.com. Send us a message on our social media platforms or email us at info@noknetwork.com. Are you a Northern Ontario resident? Searching for credible information on cannabis as a medicine? No Sir is here to help. Established in 2013, Northern Ontario Cannabis Education and Resources is here for you. No Sir Director Kim Cooper brings you 45 plus years experience utilizing cannabis as a medicine and is spreading the education across the North. Activism, resources, referrals, and more at No Sir. Don't be a jackass. Say no sir to cannabis propaganda with No Sir. Find us at www.nocer.ca.
Welcome back to the show in our regular program.
And we're back from our medication session here on Open Your Eye. Hope you'll tune into one of the many other programs that were highlighted during the break, produced and aired here on NOK Network. Little change to one of the commercials there. The movie nights have been extended. We are through March. We're not ending in February. We are going through March. We have 2 more movies coming up. One of them is this Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We are showing an oldie but a goodie, especially for anybody new out there that's jumped on the cannabis bandwagon as of the last 4 years. we are going to give a refresher course on how we got here by showing the culture high.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. It's 2014, so 10 years. 10-year anniversary for that one coming out. So the culture high.
Incredible.
Yeah. That's up Sunday. It's a good one. So
yeah,
for sure. Awesome. Looking forward to that. We're going to carry on with our conversation. For now, we're going to get back into it with the one and only Dave Hodges, Church of Ambrosia. Dave, I showed a couple of glimpses here on the way up. That's perfect. Right over your face. That's Dave.
That is
shrunk him down.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's my original robe. I have a few different ones now.
Yeah, look at that. That is
yeah.
That was designed originally when we started as a cannabis church, and there's some mushrooms on it too, but the new ones have more mushrooms on them.
Yeah. You made the news down there, right?
Yeah, that was a national thing.
Yeah.
Wow, there's the mushroom robe. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, we can see the shoulders on the mushroom robe there. Very nice indeed. And the original robe with the mushrooms on the hat there. Very cool stuff indeed, Dave. It's a journey with natural therapies and natural modalities. And damn, man, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be this hard to utilize nature.
The problem is that we've forgotten so much of the ancient truth. That's really what it comes down with. I did one of these high dose ceremonies last night, actually, and one of the entities that I was dealing with was the ancient grandmothers of the land out here, and they wanted to tell me how unhappy they were. They remember a time when we truly lived in one with them, and they showed me this beautiful memory of people alongside them, standing and watching over the beautiful coast through the trees, and when we were truly connected with them. And now there are many people that still feel connected with them, but there's very few that are actually talking to them. And that's part of one of the many things that can come out of this high dose work. The key is, first you have to get past the trauma of this life using the work, and then you have to understand what your soul is, and then once you've done that, you're at a level where you can start communicating with the ancient ones that are all around us. But so much of that is completely forgotten, and what remains is traces of a very distant past of what we once had, but nowhere near what we should have.
Doing the hard work behind it all. I mean, that's part of it, and that's, I think, a lot of people maybe don't wrap their heads around. A lot of people out there are looking at these modalities that are sort of springing up and being asked to be accepted back into societies and stuff. I think a lot of people that are uninformed have this idea in their head that, oh, well, you just go eat some mushrooms and you're going to be okay.
Well, I
don't know how many times.
Again, that's the medicine problem. I mean, I understand and respect the medicinal benefits people can get out of this stuff, but it's far beyond a medicine.
Yeah.
A medicine you take and you're cured.
Right.
This is a tool.
Right. Yeah, and that's difficult for people to comprehend. It's a really messed up world out there, and things like the Church of Ambrosia, I think, can be used as a guide, because when it comes to spirituality, Spirituality and today's civilization is very fractured at this point. And people are looking for a place to go. And you're offering them that. So tell us about the church.
Yeah, well, just before I get too much into the church, just wanted to finish that beautiful little piece and promote the event that we're doing.
Absolutely.
The end of next month, Easter weekend.
Go ahead.
Easter weekend, we're well, actually, the graphic might be on the website too. That where you'd want to go to find out more about it. But we're doing our annual Easter psychedelic event called Spirituality and Beyond. It's Easter weekend. Saturday's more of a psychedelic conference, and Sunday is more of a it is when I do my annual Easter sermon. The event is going to be at this amazing venue in downtown Oakland, a historic venue. It's going to fit about 1,500 people. But it really is exactly that, is offering people an opportunity to connect and hear more information about what we're doing, get into research that's being done, and the spiritual side of these deep truths that have been lost. But so that's Easter weekend. The next time I'm going to do a major public sermon. But the church itself is we're a non-denominational interfaith church. So we actually trace our lineage back to 2.5 million years ago, when our ancient pre-human ancestors first came across the mushrooms. And in the story that we call the religious evolution doctrine, we talk about how the mushrooms were the first access we had to the other side, and the very first lessons that we learned were one of how to communicate with each other. So to us, the mushrooms and the core of where this religion came from goes back further than any other religion. We consider ourselves the oldest, and there are pieces of truth left in every major one that's left. But what we're really trying to do is help people get in touch with their soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very detailed, and I love the fact that how does cannabis fit in is also in there, as I am an advocate. Dosing standards. There's also
So we
right.
Well, so this is something we've started working. So the church is. We have a bunch of different types of mushroom chocolates and other edibles, and once we started understanding these potency, we just put out some standards. They're not necessarily perfect yet, but we're trying to start something that could be standards for people, and at least a place to begin them, because there isn't, what's going on right now is mushrooms are all over the place, and mushroom chocolates are all over the place, and nobody's talking about how much psilocybin is in them. And just that alone could mean that one chocolate bar could be strong enough for 10 people, or it could be not enough for one to even feel it, because we're not talking about how much psilocybin is in them.
Right.
Beyond that, the levels that we've defined, actually, if you go to the dosing calculator page, that'll show you some fun stuff. Dosing calculations down.
Right there.
Yeah. So what we found is there's body weight is a major factor. There's a bunch of different factors on how mushrooms will affect you, but a 100-pound person and a 200-pound person are going to feel the exact same dose of psilocybin differently. Right. And in the fact that this 100-pound person will feel double what the 200-pound person does. So what we've started is defining some levels of experience based on how many micrograms of actual psilocybin you're consuming, and tied that into something where you can put in your body weight and gauge what experience you want to have. So the five and do my weight, 260, just to see how everything changes. But so the microdose level is supposed to be something where you don't actually feel it. It's you feel it a little bit, if anything, but a microdose is supposed to be a non-perceptible dose. So
Right.
the next level of above that would be the perceivable dose. That's where you start to feel things, and things are a little wiggly, but it's not overwhelming, and you're just kind of, things are a little tiny bit wiggly, and it's fun. Some people even compare that level to being almost like a little drunk, but not. The intense dose is that, but intense. Things are really wiggly, and you might even see some shapes or interesting patterns in things. The profound dose is generally where you start to get beyond the intense, wiggliness, but um, if you see something, it's more like a cloud. It's like almost there. It's not quite there. You can tell there's something there. A lot more sensation of there's things on the other side. And people, depending on what work they're doing in those spaces, that's a great place to go deep into the reality that you're experiencing right now, and how you're treating people, and just what's going on around you. It can be a really good introspective zone, because you're able to have basically very good access to your soul to kind of review what's going on. This breakthrough dose is where the intense visuals really start, and you start actually seeing entities. It turns from like a vague kind of almost transparent cloud to there's something standing right in front of you and you can't deny it. And then the more you do past the breakthrough, the dose, the higher that gets.
Wow.
But these are all just a starting point. We learned through the God Sitters project, that this dosing really mattered, and potency really mattered, and to help people have the experience they want to have and know what they're doing. Again, this is just a start. So what you're looking at right now is without tested mushrooms. So if you see that little pull down that says mushroom data, and it says traditional untested.
Yep.
Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. That's why.
Yeah.
There we go.
If you click that, you'll see all sorts of different percentages and tested mushrooms, and it'll
That's
change.
why there's such a gap there. That's why there is such a range in this chart.
Yeah.
So the
Well,
original
so
range-
click on the mushroom data and just
It's-
change it to one of the things you see in there. That first box there. Yeah, that one.
Let's do penis envy. Everybody's familiar with penis envy.
Yeah,
So now
there
you've
you go.
got a much
So
different
see, that's a batch of penis envy that we had tested. That if I were to try to get my breakthrough dose with that fairly strong batch, 12,000 micrograms per gram is fairly strong mushrooms. Not the strongest we've seen, but definitely much stronger than average. It would only take me 4 grams to get there.
right.
So if you would pull that down and switch it to maybe like 1% or 2%, those are the ranges that we're seeing traditional, like large grows producing things like Golden Teacher and Thai.
Yeah, 46. You got up to 46 grams.
Yeah, from 4 grams to 50 grams,
Yeah.
right? So to get to the same place, knowing the difference in the potency of the mushrooms, and the actual things you're consuming, I mean, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And this dilemma of everybody's talking about mushrooms in grams, like, oh, just do a gram, or just do an eighth, or just do a half a gram. I'm not saying that hasn't been the best advice forever, and really the good advice is always still start small. But of the strongest ones, so like of that batch of Golden Teacher, I would have to take 7 grams.
Right.
Of the strongest ones that we've had tested, that same place to get me is about 2 grams. So is it, if you're doing those super strong mushrooms where 2 grams is going to get me to a full breakthrough, then a half a gram is probably too much to start with.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, those are some really strong mushrooms.
The Amazonians, okay.
I have the Amazonians in my collection.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that's why I said we are very familiar with the Amazonians, right?
Also, keep in mind that these results are on specific batches that we've had tested.
Right, and they can be different for each batch. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's
Also,
at 260, it's like 4 grams to 4.5 grams, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got somebody like me that would be given the exact same advice by somebody that didn't know what they were doing, who is sitting at a whopping 110 pounds. I'm dropping down to 1 to 1.8, and somebody would tell me to do like the 4.
Right. And you should not do 4 of those.
No.
If you're going to do 2, you're going to have intense visuals and a breakthrough dose.
And that's usually what I do when we go to the infused dinners. I'm like, throw 2 on there,
Well, that 2 is way more than you want to do at an infused dinner. I mean,
that's
like
why
with
I'm
those mushrooms,
like this, going, okay, we have to go now.
Well, I mean, this is great because look at those numbers. Go up to the perceivable dose there. So of those mushrooms, the most you should be doing, if you want to have a good time and it to be just like, a good, you feel it, but you're not overwhelmed, you can be social, that's a half a gram of those mushrooms.
Yeah, we do.
This explains so much because I'm sitting around 147 pounds, so I'm not like a big girl either, right? So that
was the appetizer, a half a gram. We did that before we got there to go and eat the dinner.
We were already.
Yeah, well, now you know why it happened.
Yep. Now we get it. I'm actually going to direct a lot of my patients to that calculator to work with their dosing, because I get a lot of those questions of, well, how much should I take? Well, there's a lot of factors, and I've told them that, but that would be a great resource for them to, go home and jump on there and be able to like kind of at least wing what they're doing with their they might not have tested mushrooms, but they'll at least.
The hardest part is to get the tested mushrooms. If they and eventually that'll change, but if they can get test results for their mushrooms, then they can use the calculator and really know what they're doing. But even a rough guesstimate, and as long as you're being consistent about it, that'll give you a lot more guidance. If you guess and you're wrong and it was too high or too low, there's also there's a bunch of things to play around with on the calculator, and there's a bunch of information up there on our website, ambrosia.church.
We barely even scratched the surface, and our hour is almost gone, Dave.
Yeah.
Back, I'll speak to your assistant there. We'll get you at your earliest possible date that we can get you back. We're going to get you back, and we're going to do like a part 2 of this interview because there's just far too much information here that still needs to be discussed. We barely even scratched the surface.
I know.
I'm sorry.
We are out of time.
No, don't be sorry. We love it.
We're limited for time here. We're at the portion of the show I like to call shout out. We're going to cue the chickens. All right. All right, Dave, hit us with how to get a hold of you, websites, all of that good stuff, and we'll get you back in real soon.
Cool. Well, there's There's two websites, ambrosia.church and zidedoor.com. Zide Door is the physical location that you can come and physically join the church and get sacrament from here in Oakland. The Church of Ambrosia is the overarching religion where we put all the information out. If you want to get a hold of me directly, the only real social media I do at all is Instagram, and that's Dave Hemp on Instagram. But definitely check out all the information we have on ambrosia.church. That's where we have the dosing calculator and all this interesting information about testing.
Excellent.
Incredible.
We're going to get you back real soon, my friend, because like I said, we barely scratched the surface on there. There's so much more. Just on that calculator alone, we can spend another 20 minutes. And then there's the whole rest of the website. So you're coming back. I'm going to get in touch with you, your assistant. We'll book it up, and we'll get you back in for sure real soon.
Sounds good.
All
Have a
right,
good one.
thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight on Open Your Eye with our interview with Dave Hodges from the Church of Ambrosia. Thank you to my joint host, Tarra Simpson in the house, joining me here each and every week on our psychedelic focus podcast for you, our listeners out there. We hope we've opened the doors to your curiosity for you to go out there and find out more if psychedelic medicine and psychedelic spirituality is right for you. And just maybe we'll open your eye. We will be back again next week with another very special guest. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Open your eyes.